កម្មវិធីកិច្ចសន្ទនាកម្ពុជានិងពិភពលោក
Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. You'll probably be sick and tired of me having to talk all the time about ASEAN. Unfortunately, ASEAN just reached 50, and I thought it'd be nice to have different perspective from different people with different background. And I happen to have a very old friend and a young friend, Ambassador Pusutara, and then Professor and Dean Rector of Zaman University, Date Sopodam. So 2 born made in Cambodia, 3 made in Cambodia, all exposed in our own way in the evolution of ASEAN, some longer than other, but very fresh perspective, from academician, think tank. I like to think that for this show I like to wear my hat as a think tank also, as a chair of a CDI. So let's have a good discussion. But before that, since Ambassador, your first time to my show, maybe I give you a few minutes to introduce yourself.
With pleasure. Good morning. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank my very good friend, His Excellency Dr. Siphana. He's not only the chairman of CDOI, he's also a member of the board of director of my institute, the Cambodian Institute for Cooperation and Peace. So I am indeed very delighted and pleased to join you in this very interesting talk. I am the executive director of CICP, the Cambodian Institute for Peace and Cooperation, since May of 2013. This institute was formed by His Royal Highness like Norodom Sriwood. He was then Foreign Minister of Cambodia some 22 years ago. The idea of having this institute is to promote critical thinking and to also bring about interesting dialogue on important issues that matter to Cambodia and matter to the region in political security, mainly international relations, regional integrations, and also other very important issues. And therefore, I'm very pleased to be here.
Well, thank you. Dr. Odom, Sopodam.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. And but it's a great honor for me to be here. And my name is Date Sopodam. Recently appointed as the rector of Zaman University here in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. My background is actually Southeast Asian Studies. I got my degree from Turkey, United States, and Germany. And I'm concurrently one of the senior research fellows at CICP as well. And I like to think of my role here as being somebody who leads a university that visions ourselves to be a leading education institution in Cambodia, preparing our students and our young Cambodian population to be leaders and at least catching up with the rest of the region, especially with the AEC that is coming up.
As far as leading university in Cambodia, your university is. I can attest to that.
Thank you.
Because I met several students there.
I would like to thank you also for being our keynote speaker at the commencement last year. It was quite inspirational for us.
It's great. Cambodia, I mean, from your perspective, we talk all the time. We come a long way. But we come a long way in the context of a region that have come a long way also, right? And what you heard, the recent G7 meeting in Italy, things is not as certain, predictable as it is. Europe, we start to have doubt among themselves. The recent election in France, Brexit, President Donald Trump, protectionism, anti-multilateralism, that sort of thing. It's the recent One Belt One Road, which was sort of labeled as the globalization 2.0. You know, this sort of thing make us wonder, hey, what happened to our region? We just turned 50, not 50. Normally when you turn 50, you have a midlife crisis, right? But anyway, Master, give me your perspecve as being a wearing multi-hat. You used to be a minister of industry here, ambassador to Japan, ISIS fellow, you know, and then now a executive director of a local, you know, think tank. So what's your perspective of ASEAN at 50?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I believe that this year is a very important year for ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, to capitalize on its existence over the past 50 years. 50 years ago, ASEAN united with the original five and decided to reinforce themselves in trying to form a grouping to address issues at that time.
Which are more what?
It's more of a Cold War aspect. You know, the spread of communisms and rivalry between U.S. and Soviet Union at the time, and so on. But but I must say that even at the original, during the original time in 1967, ASEAN aspired to become a grouping of 10 nations. Of course, it takes time to unite everybody, and Cambodia joined ASEAN in 1999, April 1999, and we were the last ASEAN member, but they really wanted to preserve this region, the region of Southeast Asia, as peaceful, as stable, as prosperous as possible by rolling out blueprints that to galvanize, on the one hand, political security aspect, but there are two other pillars, which is the economic pillar and the social cultural pillar. And so I think for this year, ASEAN will celebrate its 50-year anniversary, and look forward to ensuring that their process, this is a process, I have to say.
Yes, yes. It is work in progress.
It's a work in progress,
yeah.
Precisely.
Yes.
Will continue, and the ultimate aspiration is to continue to ensure that this region of Southeast Asia is as peaceful as possible within the new context of geopolitical conditions.
Well, I think that for me anyway, and Odom, you can step in on this one, is that I look at ASEAN, the turning point was the charter, 2007, right? 2007, we're now 2017. It's 10 years since we have a charter. So it's more rule-based, it's no more a loose organization. But if you did mention the second pillar, which is the economic pillar, but you see from that pillar, you actually see that in the last 10 years, there's tremendous economic growth in the region. What's your take on that?
I think, among all the three pillars that ASEAN has engaged in the ASEAN Charter, laid out in the ASEAN Charter, the economic aspect is probably the most successful one, we can say, especially with the launching of the AEC at the beginning, at the end of last year. And I think that probably the way ASEAN could actually capitalize on, because when you look at the two other pillars, the political security is probably still not as realized as it intended to be, because ASEAN centrality is in question given the US rebalance, and especially recently with the uncertainty about President Trump's engagement with ASEAN. Socio-cultural aspect as well, I think, is being done, but probably not as much as we want to. So again, AEC is something that is, I think ASEAN can celebrate on, but it's the most successful one. But we need to capitalize more on that, so that the other, there's spillover effects to the other ones as well.
You mentioned, I think your strength of the CISP is more focused on the first pillar, which is the political security. And a lot of people confuse. They keep saying, they talk about the ASEAN. They mention immediately AEC, ASEAN Economic Community. But ASEAN Economic Community is only a pillar of the ASEAN community, which make up of the political security. But to me, I think the two are linked. Let's be real. Without peace and security, you cannot have development. If two countries go to war, we don't trade. So this is very important. What's your take on now? Since let's take from the charter time. So then this way we have a clear decade period to sort of benchmark progress, because you can always look 50 years, which is too far away, right? Yes. But let's focus on the last 10 years. From the political security aspect, what have you seen the turning point?
Yes, thank you very much, Your Excellency. Indeed, in the past 10 years, looking from the perspective of ASEAN Charter, the political security platform have improved in the sense that they become a bit more rule-based. They aspire to take an active role in what have happened in the region, particularly issues related to security and political aspects. However, I must say that there need to be a more vigorous looking into the future, particularly at this current moment whereby you see a lot of trend happening. If you allow me, Your Excellency, the one of the major challenge to ASEAN political security community is the Professor Dom speak about American pivot, but in fact it is more of the American reorientations of looking back to Southeast Asia that we are now questioning a new president, President Trump.
I think I'm going to take a short break now, and when we come back, both of you can show a bit, the both sides of the hand, as to this President Trump policy toward our region. Is he committed to, or he just let go? What happened to the pivot? Pivot to Asia now. I heard somebody mentioning pivot in Asia, that sort of thing. Okay, so we'll take a short break.
Thank you.
Okay, so 15 minutes went by. Ambassador, okay, let's focus now first ASEAN, but from the perspective on how a major development partner like the US, look at us, right? And for sure, we all heard about the pivot to Asia during the Obama administration, but now it's a Trump administration.
Yes, thank you. Whenever America have an election, they're coming together with this event is the unpredictability aspects of the American politics, because every 4 years the American president changed. And one of the things that you probably know that the new president of America capitalizing on America first.
Yes.
Making America strong again. Americans start, in my opinion, to look inward. And recently, you're probably aware of the proposed budget cut. Many of the American value will be affected. Not only in Cambodia per se, but in Africa and worldwide. And this is something of concern. If America continue to be known as a good brother, a good and big brother, America should not dilute themselves in looking closely to themselves rather than try to offer a goodwill to other region of the world. So with regard to American reorientation, it is a bit too early to say, because nobody can predict what President Trump will do. Although a lot of commentary said that he will try to brush it off. I hope he's not comparing to President Obama.
Okay.
So I hope so.
Professor?
I agree with the uncertainty. I think that's a common word everyone is using right now, because in his first 100 days so far, ASEAN has not been so much of a focal point, let's say, while there is a lot of discussion about Korea and whatnot. But I think I can see a few scenarios. One could be, for example, let's say if the US does disengage from ASEAN, what would happen is either the ASEAN could come together in order to reorient themselves and make sure that they are a strong organization vis-a-vis big player in the region such as China. Another scenario would be that ASEAN could be disintegrated because different ASEAN members would be running around forming different alliances, let's say with Japan, with Russia, so that they can hedge themselves against China. But that is still too early to say. I think at the end of the day, you will look at security alliances. The US still conduct military alliances. Business-wise, I think Trump is a business guy. At the end of the day, I think although the rhetoric about America first and whatnot, when reality kicks in, business as usual, meaning trade will continue to grow, and I think the US still continue to engage ASEAN.
Well, I think you touch about trade. I think trade matter to a lot of countries in the world. Trade matter a lot to the world itself in terms of economic growth, right? You cannot dissociate development, the growth of trade and development, the flow of FDI. And the fact that President Trump has killed the TPP on its first day in office is it had tremendous repercussion on the region, right? Look, Japan is affected. If Japan is affected, Singapore is affected because the bulk of trade will go through Singapore. Singapore is affected. God knows what else. Vietnam. But in a way, I'm happy as Cambodian that TPP is dead, because it spares us from the migration of a factory to Vietnam, because Vietnam is a member of TPP. See, so we would lose that trade preference. So now it's on hold. We don't know what happened. There's a talk about TPP -1, But again, without the US, TPP don't mean anything, right?
Yes.
But let's shift a bit more to our continent. Talk about US is one thing, but US is a bit uncertain. And then you look at the side of the region, you see a very clear, convincing, assertive China with its One Belt One Road, right? I mean, the One Belt One Road Forum on International Cooperation in early this month, with all this high-profile world leader and leader of World International Organization, is an affirmation that in the One Belt One Road here is taking all the limelight. What do you think of that?
Yes, Your Excellency, before China TPP, just very quickly,
okay.
I agree with you that the Americans suffer leadership role when they decided to walk out from TPP. However, now there is you call TPP -1, they talk about TPP 11. The 11 country is trying to formalize their own, and trade and commerce is definitely very important to sustain prosperity in this region, without which it is impossible. So I think that one factor that we need to know, that with America in TPP or America not in TPP, particularly for small country like Cambodia, we will benefit anyway, because we get access to American market anyway, with or without the TPP. I share with you that you were just saying that it's good that we don't have to worry too much about this aspect. Now, returning to your point with regard to China rise, it's true nowadays. Whenever China says something or initiate something, everybody come on. Some supporting, some against. In my opinion, the Belt and Road initiative that was proposed by China should be looked at an opportunity angle. Why I said this is because there is a sincerity from China to try to revitalize using this Belt and Road Initiative to revitalize connectivity, particularly infrastructure connectivity. And a small country like Cambodia, we will definitely benefit if we know how to capture this opportunity properly. The only thing that we need to be very mindful of this is that we need to know exactly what are the term and conditions that associate with the Belt and Road, particularly when you apply for loan from AIIB, the so-called the bank.
Yes. But at the Belt and Road Initiative, right? Forum on International Cooperation. The first speaker, of course, is the host, which is President Xi Jinping, and then President Putin. But the third one is President Erdogan of Turkey, and there's most of the big country was there. From your perspective, again, from the One Belt One Road, right? I mean, we are part of the maritime Silk Road here, But then, so are many other countries now along that Silk Road.
65.
Right? 65. Europe, even the UK, which is the very far end of the island of Europe.
That's right.
The train have arrived already. The 17 days, the train arrived. And the train have returned already to China. Yes. So it means the connectivity that you mentioned have taken place already. But what do you think for our sub-region, ASEAN as a whole?
I think I agree with His Excellency Ambassador Gustera that it's an opportunity for us, but in addition to the regulation and things like that, we also should be, for example, countries like Cambodia and CLMV, without strong regulation, especially on environmental factors and things like that, we have to be careful about being in connection is good, but at the same time, be wary also of the consequences, especially environmental, weak regulation and things like that could result in destruction of things that we shouldn't.
So in other words, it's a more, I would say, due diligence into social environmental impact on this big major infrastructure construction, right? So it's quite good, because then I would link to Japan, because Japan in last year have launched also their own equivalent, of they don't call One Belt One Road, but for Asia they are pushing what they so-called quality infrastructure, where they're stressing quality investment, quality infrastructure. So it's quite interesting to see. And here we're touching on the three major development partner, ASEAN, and that lead me to the question of ASEAN centrality. How do we, as ASEAN, nonetheless 650 some million population base? I mean, we're not small, but how are we, positioning in terms of centrality? Because people talk a lot about centrality. So I'm going to take a short break, and we'll come back. We're going to tackle a bit on how do we balance that, and what do we mean by ASEAN centrality, the ASEAN way here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to start with you on what's your view on ASEAN centrality?
I think this is the question that perplexes a lot of scholars in the region. First of all, we should define what ASEAN centrality is. It's the idea that ASEAN should play a role engaging with regional powers without having big powers push ASEAN around, I think. At this point, we have seen moments of fracture in ASEAN, especially with the South China Sea conflict, with claimant states and non-claimant states disagreeing on the issue. But that aside, I think it will probably be, because of the ASEAN way, because of consensus, the culture of dialogue within ASEAN, I think ASEAN will be able to be a regional player. The proof, the evidence is that it has been here for 50 years.
Yes.
And while regional players like EU, which is normally considered the most successful one, is starting to face some problems, ASEAN, yes, we have to acknowledge that it's slower than a lot of people want it, but the way it is created, it's not a supranational organization, but in fact an association of member states that work together. In that regard, I think ASEAN can weather the storm, but of course with the continued rise of China and the uncertainty about Trump's commitment to ASEAN, gets me back to the point I raised earlier about the scenarios that would play out, and I would like to be optimistic that it's not going to that direction.
All right. Ambassador?
Well, when it comes to centrality, ASEAN centrality, my take on this is that ASEAN want to be in the command, and they want particularly acting like as a gatekeeper. Anything that enter into ASEAN have to pass through ASEAN. They like to be able to set the agenda. And more importantly, ASEAN centrality often referred to ASEAN want to be the major driver of any ASEAN regional mechanism, be it at the leader forum like the EAS or the ADM Plus or the ASEAN Plus 3 and so on and so forth. So these are some of the ideas that behind ASEAN. Now, associated with ASEAN centrality is this, as I mentioned, that they ASEAN like to be in a driver's seat. But in fact, these also have to be very careful. You can be in the driver's seat but behaving like a taxi driver. Somebody else tell you where to go, and therefore centrality does not really.
Isn't it a bit ambitious to self-proclaim that we are in the driver's seat?
Yeah, well, I agree with you. We have to understand by design, ASEAN never intended to be a supranational. When I said the ASEAN very much like to set the agenda for big meetings and so on and so forth, ASEAN wish to just behave like a convener, allowing big power,
to talk.
A platform to talk, to dialogue, to bring issues up.
Which is ASEAN doing quite well.
Quite well, I have to say, without which there's still a lot of misunderstanding happening and misconceptions about the way forward. And definitely there is some restriction as to or limitation as to what ASEAN can do, particularly in the management of the relationship between China and America. I don't think ASEAN want to tell China what to do or America what to do. But we definitely ASEAN want China and America to sit down and talk over whatever their difference is.
No, I agree with you in the sense that we so far as a platform for confidence building measure, for preventive diplomacy, we are doing that already. I mean, look at the case of South China Sea, the ability to have a hotline, and many other measures. We cannot solve the issue of sovereignty overnight, right? Like any sovereignty issue is a long drawn issue. But as long as people talk, as long as people come and share their ideas and everything, and like now the hot spot is the North Korean Peninsula, for example, the Korean Peninsula. I mean, but these are issues that mobilize, common issue that threaten the region, threaten the world. I can see that people look at ASEAN to come with a voice, which I think in this case is quite unified. No?
Yes. Very correctly said. The issues of North Korea is very interesting. For the first time, you know that North Korea have call out for ASEAN support.
Interesting.
There was a call submitted to the Secretary General ASEAN asking to forward it to the ASEAN leader to try to appease the tension, the so-called tension, because America is moving very, very strongly. But partly it's also the doing of North Korea themselves. Recently, they just launched another missile, and now Japan and South Korea is going into a close consultation mode and trying to come up. They, according to what I read, I hear from the press recently, is that they will try to find out the best way to counter such an aggressive actions.
Thanks, Ambassador. I think we have a few minutes left, but I want to spend that more on the future. We reach 50, like you say, you said when you walk in that when you reach 50, you start to be a little bit less caring. You don't take care of yourself. You don't groom yourself too well. You need a haircut, right?
Yes.
No, I think the future looks good for me. I like to think in a very positive mode. But what you take? Let's not talk 50. It's too long. We'll be dead by then. Let's talk 25, right?
Yes.
The middle, 25 years from now. Where do you see ASEAN way? And how do you see the ASEAN way, playing in that? Because let's face it, we make to 50 because ASEAN way, not the EU way, right? But what's your take on that?
I think the ASEAN way of respecting sovereignty, using consensus, confidence building will be the main player of the game. We may see more implementation of ASEAN minus X in economic issues, perhaps in technical matters. And I would like to also think that maybe by then the socio-cultural pillar will be strengthened a little bit more. By then I hope also that the ASEAN leaders would invest more in education in terms of identity building, because we'll be 75 years old by then. I think people should be able to call themselves ASEANers more than they are today.
Yes.
The next 25 years, it's a good question. To me, there's 2 points. First, very importantly for ASEAN, in the next phase of its own, you were saying having a haircut, I probably want to add, they probably need a tune-up as well.
Okay.
But in any case, they need to ensure that the process of integrations going to complete this process. In other words, that they have to make sure that all the people ASEAN will see the benefit of this integration. There is some slowness, there is some sluggish, particularly in ASEAN Master Plan of Connectivity, the IAI, the Initiative for ASEAN Integration.
We need to finish the ASEP also.
That's right, and ASEP is supposed to be finished hopefully this year, the end of the year. That keep our finger crossed. You are quite correct, Your Excellency. So internally, ASEAN need to ensure that all the commitment that they say they would do will be realized. The second point, like Professor Udom mentioned just now, ASEAN need to work on compliances and enforcement of what ASEAN is very good in promising many things in their declarations. But one of the weakest that ASEAN don't have is these compliances and enforcement aspect to their declarations. They often relies on peer pressure. They often relies on voluntary compliance.
Isn't it the ASEAN way?
And that is the ASEAN way. But I think to go forward, to move forward, you need to recalibrate. I'm not asking to change the ASEAN way, consensus and so on. Recalibration, meaning that we need to give more attention to sensitive, more critical issues that affects ASEAN common interest as a whole.
Well, so in this case, you see a positive light. I can see both of you agree that there's a good future for ASEAN, but it need tweaking, it need fine-tuning, it need a haircut, it need sort of like bring down a bit the reality, in a way. What I perceive from what you just said is more like we are too much in the cloud, in a macro perspective, but not enough filtering down to the micro level where various mechanisms are put in place to implement the different agreement. But I want to say that 50 years is a long process. But to be fair to ASEAN, what I see the last several years, right, since the charter, particularly now with the ASEAN community, what I see is a free flow of, let's start with tourists first, okay? The ability of Cambodian or Malaysian or Thai to just pick up a phone, book an online e-ticket and then fly for a one-day meeting in the next capital of an ASEAN country, to me is probably the beginning of everything. You know, we talk a lot about all these pillars, but we forgot. But who is behind that is people.
That's right.
Right. And the ability to have people build a relationship, business, politician, bureaucrat, academician, NGO. I think that's probably
Yes.
the strength
Yes.
of this ASEAN people-to-people connectivity.
Yes.
But there's only a small point that concerns me a bit is along with these free flow of people, generally you also have possibility of generating the how do you say resentment.
Oh.
I think the word I was looking for. That let's say in countries that had bitter old, histories, seeing a lot of these people, companies from your rival neighboring countries could also at some point potentially generate some resentment and lead to political issues as well, which we did witness in Europe. And Europe, the EU, despite being considered one of the most successful places, actually does face that. So that's the only, that's one downside I'm a little bit concerned about.
But it's good that we spot the downside so that country can take sort of like remedial measure. How to, because if you draw a page, right, on a white page, you draw a column. At the end, it's all about how many plus, how many minus, right? So if you have more plus, then it's good. You have minus, you must have minus. You cannot have a utopia,
That's
right? But the trick is how do we take a remedial measure?
Yeah. A good point about people-to-people promotion with regard to tourism, because it is I think it's time in the next phase of ASEAN, the next 25 years so-called, or hopefully perhaps even shorter, in the next 5 to 10 years, I hope to see what I would call ASEAN Common Visa. This will definitely help ASEAN in a great deal. I'm not asking ASEAN to do like the Schengen area, where you bring down the border and so on, but to issue just a common visa, whereby if you apply for visa in one country, you can visit all 10. And this will promote integration, will facilitate a lot of movement and so on and so forth, and it will help narrowing the development gap. At the end of the day, Your Excellency pointed out very correctly that who's behind all this is the people. So you have to make the people feel about ASEAN. I think this is a good point.
I think for country who are, we mentioned about the development gap, you have the ASEAN 6, the ASEAN 4, right? But, for this integration, it matters a lot for those who come later, last, right?
Yes.
Because the ability to catch up in a world that have moved toward third and fourth industrial revolution, all of that thing, it's our ability to catch up with the neighbor.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you see, to me, had Cambodia not joined ASEAN, I don't think we would have catch up that fast.
Yes. Right. Exactly. I agree, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, and I want to make one point with that is that there's a lot for Cambodia to look forward to Japanese assistance. Your Excellency mentioned about the quality development. Japan has been keen, have been their assistant is gearing toward quality development, and it comes with latest technology, best know-how, and sensible to environmental issues, social issues as well. So it's good for Cambodia to look up to capitalize on the prospects of making Japan as our partner in development as well.
Well, I think maybe I give you the last word, but what I want to say is that Cambodia, we're a small country. We need friends all over. For every friend, there are certain things that benefit us. Okay, like you mentioned Japan about quality infrastructure. For China, the one by one road, the ability to bring billions of dollars to do infrastructure. However, we need to be a bit more aggressive in terms of ownership of the development process by imposing more stringent environmental and social, condition on that. With the U.S., there was still going to be a major market for us. For Europe, as long as we have this everything but arm, most of our Cambodian product will find its way there. Many other smaller development partners have provided us a lot of scholarship for our young Cambodians. So I think we should look at the world in that perspective.
Yes.
We need friends everywhere.
Yes.
For different friends, different strength, but it all benefit Cambodia.
Yes.
And that should be, the way we look at Cambodia in ASEAN and through ASEAN in the world. Last word, gentlemen.
I agree with your point very much, His Excellency. But also, I think one point, if I may add, would be
Please.
being a historian myself.
Yes.
I think we probably need an ASEAN history book that denationalize the way we see ourselves. We are Cambodians, but we are not just Cambodia.
Yes.
In this world, we are also fellow ASEAN members, and I think we need a textbook like this that helps students visualize themselves, form their ID construction. Yes, there will be obstacles and difficulties writing such a history, but I think it's necessary for ASEAN to move forward.
Great.
My last word about ASEAN and looking from Cambodian perspective is that, again, ASEAN need to make every member of ASEAN member country, including Cambodia, feel that they receiving benefit from ASEAN. This is very important, and they can do it through a process of engagement, integrations, but they really have to concentrate on the lesser, the so-called the CLMV. Now we probably graduated already, remaining the three state. Another point is that we need, on a longer term, we need to inculcate the ASEAN identity.
Yes, exactly.
We are the citizen of ASEAN. I like to see in our airport ASEAN lane or ASEAN corner whereby we can showcase. And in all ASEAN countries should do that. I think identity is very important, to be proud of being ASEAN citizen. This is very important. Looking forward. Thank you very much.
Well, Ambassador, Professor, I think we have a good discussion, and I'm not going to summarize. All I'm saying is that we reached 50 and looking forward for the next 25 years with a good sense of positive spirit, a bit mindful of the challenge that we have to tackle. But all in all, I think we look, the prospect is upbeat, and I'm just happy that our next generation will be the prime beneficiary of this ASEAN integration.
Yes.
So once again, Ambassador, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your
Professor.
Excellency.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Yes.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of the program, and I'm not just summarize it, and just want to say that I hope you have learned something more from the previous speaker, and hopefully by the end of the year you will have a sense of ASEAN citizenship on top of a Cambodian spirit. Good night.